Lucius Alexander has delivered some DAC cuts here into the studio. We're going to get to these here in just a few minutes. So he was on with the Adam Schefter podcast, and we'll get some audio. Some Cowboys audio is now right around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Barnwell did a bunch of mock trade hypotheticals. And an idea for the Colts, who in theory need to move up to get a wide receiver, his idea is to trade with the Cowboys to 26, and the Cowboys would get the 35th pick and the 106th pick and a 2024 fourth rounder, and the Colts get the 26th. Would you be willing to do that?
Going to 35, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd be open to doing that, Brian. Don't you move back, get a couple more picks?
I'm always.
It depends who's there, of course.
That's the first question I ask myself when I start talking about trading back. Who am I trading away from?
Sure.
Is it, if you feel like that there's a couple positions you're looking at are pretty deep. That you're looking at potentially the tight ends pretty deep. You're looking at the guards pretty deep. So if you want to dance back, it might put you in position to grab the defensive end McDonald from Iowa State, who Dan Quinn went and worked out. And if you want to get an edge, that's kind of where you're at. You might be looking at one of these corners, too. I think you're kind of taking yourself out of some positions. The wide receivers at that point, I kind of feel like they're all going to be the vertically challenged guys.
At 35?
At 35.
The vertically challenged
guys, I think that's kind of the guys you're looking at there.
No, he's right about that. I talked to Jared about it, and that's what they prefer.
Okay. Well, if Sandler approves, then, he knows. But I think that you're also going to get a run on tight ends. And so if you want to move back, that also might be an opportunity to snag one of your tight ends.
Okay. I like the idea of the tackle you guys are talking about.
Darnell Wright?
Yeah, and one of the tight ends. I'm worried dropping back to 35, I'm going to miss out on one of those guys. Maybe, I'm sold on those guys pretty good.
What else am I picking up there, Gab? I'm sorry about that. What pick was it? Was it pick, you said a third round?
106, fourth rounder.
Okay, fourth round.
Early fourth rounder.
Yeah,
and then a 2024 fourth.
Yeah, it's not worth moving back if Wright's there because he's not making it to you. And it's right now, I don't know that he's making it to 26 anyway. But if he's there, you need to just stay put and take him.
Okay, man, I'm kind of confused about the way the draft works now in this way. And I'm saying
this is concerning.
First night of the draft is round 1. Second night of the draft, or second
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Okay, you get that pick. And I'm just saying this. You get pick 106. You're getting ready to start off the draft. You're starting day 3 of the draft is what you're looking at right there. That pick right there could be a premium pick that somebody might want that you could pick up something else. Maybe somebody will be desperate enough to give you next year's 2 for that pick.
Like they didn't like what they got in the first 3 rounds. And now they're Hail Mary.
Yeah, the fourth round is always, especially the first, it's a hard one to trade into because everybody sleeps on their board after night 2.
Okay.
Everybody sleeps on the board, so all of a sudden you might have guys right up there in the third round that you're like, going, man, we got to grab this guy. So you want to just, it goes pretty fast. It's like pick. So if you got pick 106, that's the 4th pick in to start the 3rd day.
Might be a gold mine.
It might be a really good pick to have.
But the only other thing,
if you're comfortable going back.
I'm generally a big advocate for the trade down. I think that's a great idea usually. Now, it obviously depends on who's available at the time for sure, but especially in a draft like this where you're saying after 15 guys, you have second-round grades on everybody. So that's more incentive for me to want to trade down in general. Again, we got to see specifically who's available at the moment, but the other thing is you're punting on that 5th-year option when you're not drafting in the first round anymore. So that's the other caveat that you would just have to consider and be okay with.
Well, it might not be super important to you though when you're looking at what the position you're taking. If you're taking a tight end or somebody like that, if you're taking a quarterback, and
that's the main.
Yeah, if you're taking a position that's going to be a cornerback, a quarterback, a wide receiver, but if you're thinking tight end or guard, the 5th-year option might not mean much to you.
Gotcha.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
I know how many people are super excited about the idea of drafting Bijan Robinson Dak. Have you been able to watch him as the draft nears?
Yeah, honestly, second to Mississippi State, I'm a Texas fan, so I've seen a lot of his game when they've been on Saturdays and able to watch him, and just a super talented guy. Not only is he great running the ball and has the speed, but has the hands and the route running ability. And that's all mock drafts. I don't pay attention to all that stuff, but I do know he's a hell of a player.
Grew up a Longhorns fan, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Been watching a lot of UT football. I'd imagine maybe the Vince Young Longhorns hooked him as it did many young football fan back in the day. Amen to that.
That team was incredible.
It was.
VY was special.
That whole roster was ridiculous.
They're not tipping their hand one way or another on how they feel about Bijan Robinson. Stephen Jones was pretty generic yesterday. That's a very respectful answer from Dak Prescott, but nothing to make you feel one way or the other, that's for sure. I think if the Cowboys do end up with Bijan Robinson, though, I'll be very surprised. We just haven't heard much buzz, or as you're trying to listen or read between the lines, I'm just not seeing any indication that he's high on their radars.
I'd be very surprised as well. I wonder, and Brian, you've talked about this before, and we found out like in the CeeDee Lamb draft, they go through mock draft scenarios and how likely is it X player falls to you. I bet in a lot of their scenarios, Bijan hasn't been there.
Yeah.
So they're probably not thinking, all right, the likelihood of him being around and us having to even have that debate, not high. And Dak, I don't think, would come out and really campaign for Bijan because he's probably also thinking about Zeke's feelings.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and he's got some thoughts here on Zeke that we'll hear in just a second. But the next cut, 18, is his thoughts on the new $51 million market-setting man, Jalen Hurts, and his new contract. Here's Dak.
Yeah, congratulations. Proud of him. I hosted Jalen on a visit way back in Mississippi State years ago, and a fan of the guy, that the way he plays the game. Not a fan of his team and when they have success necessarily, but a fan of him and the way that he approaches it. And just somebody that was counted out early because of his play style and just has had success and trusted himself, trusted in the process, and proud of him, and he deserves every bit of it.
It's cool how a lot of these guys know each other from the camps and the recruiting visits, and it's a small QB fraternity. But Dak knows what that means. He and his agent know what that means. If you can wait this thing out, maybe by the time they get it done, he could be sitting at over $60 million per year. So as a player, especially a franchise quarterback, it would just be so exciting and thrilling, to imagine the kind of wealth you've accumulated and what you can do now with a foundation, with your family, with whatever you want to do now. That's the kind of money that just brings, really a top of the food chain type of bucket list items into reality. $50 or $60 million a year, and at quarterback, they're protecting you, and it's only going up. Who knows what it could be by the time you're 35? We're going to see a $100 million quarterback one of these days.
You're right.
Guys will make $2 billion over the course of their career. It's not too far off as the pie just continues to get bigger and bigger. Okay, 17 with the Commanders being sold. Dak, what is it like when you play in Washington?
Yeah, honestly, my experience of playing in Washington, that's where I got my first win. So little bias there. I like to go back there. But honestly, every time the Dallas Cowboys go in my years, and I'm sure it's been in the past, it's probably 65, maybe 70% Cowboy fans. So it's another home game on the road. So, hey, I'm a fan of it. We can keep it that way.
Yeah, he's been owning the Commanders outside of just a couple of games.
Has he ever lost a game there?
I mean, I have to imagine they lost the game that he threw the ball directly to.
Oh, yeah, this past year.
Did they lose the last game of the year this year?
They did. But other than that, I don't think they'd ever lost.
Yeah.
Like he's never lost to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles.
No, the teams have that, but
like Cooper Rush lost that game. That
one so much time.
Yeah, one Dak, yeah.
Is there a possibility Zeke could return to Dallas? Here's Dak Prescott.
I'll tell you, that should be nice. That should be nice. And I know myself, and I can tell you there's a lot of people on not only the team, but in the organization that would love that. I'm sure Zeke would as well. So we understand that this is a business. And as you said, the markets change and things go up and down. So it doesn't always work out the way we see it. But hopefully that could happen.
Hopefully that could happen. Zeke wants it. A lot of players in the team want it. I'd love for it to happen, but there's just it's so tough to imagine a running back who can't help you on special teams being your third running back. The team has talked about this so many times over the years as being a real deal breaker when they're building out their roster. He'd have to be a fullback, but even then fullbacks play special teams, don't they?
Right.
So what's the percent chance to you, Brian?
6%.
6%.
Yeah, I'm not. I think they're moving on from that. I haven't got any type of. I know Dak. You mentioned it earlier, Zach, that he's trying to be positive, trying to pump up his former teammate, and stuff like that. I just feel like the Cowboys, if they were interested in bringing him back, they would have said, "Okay, we will bring you back." And they said, "Well, we're not gonna we don't want to give him an offer that makes him look bad or something like that or disrespects him. Well, if you sign him back, you're gonna give him basically the same contract that you're trying to get him to get. If you're asking him to take a reduction. So to me, I'd see I said 6%, just kind of tongue in cheek. I don't think there's any way he comes back.
Me either. I'm pretty much at a 0%. I don't think that it happens, and I think that he probably won't sign until July, June with a team, if at all.
These are the jobs for young, hungry guys that are willing to go throw their bodies around and are happy to be standing on the sideline, not a guy who's had a kind of career that Zeke's had.
Right.
Some guys love football so much they don't want to go away from it, and that role might sound good to them, And if I think he's tough enough, he's a good enough protector of Dak, and I think he's good for the morale in the locker room. I think that he genuinely makes it a better place. And I remember Des talking about when they lost to DeMarco Murray, how it was a drain, like they'd lost their heart, because of how much they could depend on DeMarco Murray to be a real tough football player. And I wonder how much the heart of the team takes a step back if you don't have Zeke.
I just think you can be the heart of the team when you also bring some production value. And at the time, DeMarco Murray was still bringing that production. Zeke has not provided that. Like, you had the chance. Your heartbeat of the team was your running back for 2 full quarters in San Francisco the night that you couldn't do anything offensively. It's like what type of spark did he provide for the offense when Tony Pollard went down and they didn't trust anybody else in that backfield? So here's Zeke every single play, and the offense just can't seem to do anything.
It was brutal. It really was. And if you go back and watch that second half, I think you see a player that really didn't have a chance of creating any space for himself.
No, and like I said, if they were worried about disrespecting him, they made it known. I mean, just
you've already cut the guy.
Just move on.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, what type of player? Here's Dak, though, on what type of player teams would be getting if they do sign Ezekiel Elliott on the Adam Schefter podcast.
Yeah, an amazing person. And the player, you turn on the film and you see a tough guy, a guy that is epitome of how to be a professional, of working hard, leading by example, and then just an awesome guy for the locker room. I think that's something that he brings that people don't understand. The leadership and the culture that he can bring to a team in a locker room is special, and I envy who's going to get that next.
Okay, and then his thoughts on losing the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and one of his best friends and running back for his entire career, Ezekiel Elliott, in the same offseason. Here's some more Dak.
It wasn't easy, put it like that. As you said, starting off the first news, Kellen, not only Kellen Moore, but offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier, just 2 men that have grown with. Me and Kellen, since I've been drafted, created a relationship as teammates, and then for that as a player, coach, and at the end of the day, a brother. So just seeing him leave was tough, but happy for him, happy for his new opportunity. And then Zeke, that one still doesn't feel right. Going in the facility, starting the off-season program, been my locker buddy for years, and just a guy that I'll go to war with and do anything for in this world. And it's tough not going to work with him now, but he's somebody I support. He won't be a free agent for long, and I don't understand why he still is. But yeah, it's been tough. But with change is good as well. So I've got to embrace that, embrace what we've got moving forward, and I'm excited for it.
I think the awesome thing is Dak is such a great leader. They'll forge new connections. I think the connection is very important, but like Tony compared to Dak when it comes to making sure everybody in the locker room is on the same page and having something to rally around and building morale and all that. It's like a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to, something that would leave a lot to be desired. So, but I think it's massively important that you have a connected locker room, that you have connected teammates. Like, it gets into weird sports psychology and stuff that people don't talk about that much, but being social creatures, if we know we have each other's back and we're fighting for this unified cause, it brings out something in us in an energy in individuals that can really magnify. And now you get players who are motivated and inspired to play at their highest levels. You take away the bros, you take away their buddies that they have this special connection with.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if they don't fight quite as hard for a while, and if it takes a while to replace that entity in the locker room.
I'm sure it is weird. They came in together. They were drafted together in the same draft class. So it's his firsts, right? The firsts are always weird and awkward. But as soon as he gets in the huddle for mini camps and he takes the field at training camp and he has those first few snaps and it's like, all right, Zeke's not with me. Zeke's not in the huddle. I don't think that's something that'll linger whatsoever. You know, that personal relationship is something that's never lost. But to your point, you've said this, Gavin, this is a business. Dak understands that, and he does an excellent job not only unifying the offense, but he has those relationships with the defense as well. It's a team thing, and that's why you've never seen, even when the offense has struggled during Dak's career, defensive players come out and point the finger.
Oh, that's a great point. Well, Chuck, you got your fastball today, buddy.
Hey, I'm trying, boys.
I think Brian's rubbing off on you.
Must be a Dolls Wednesday.
Yeah.
Dolls Wednesday. I'll also say this, though. When they draft somebody like A-Chain from Texas A&M or Charbonneau from UCLA, Dak will forget about Ezekiel Elliott when those guys are.
That's what a little burst looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Like he hands the ball, and all of a sudden that hole opens up over there with Steele and Martin on that one side, and now they get some blocks over there, and then those guys are finishing runs, and it's 5, 6, 7 yards a shot. You know, instead of plays blocked for 7, it goes for 3. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean that's the reality for Dak will set in real fast when one of those guys comes in.
Life comes at you fast.
And they'll with him and Pollard, whoever they draft.
817, bring him back as a secondary running back coach. Maybe there's a future in coaching for Zeke. And, you know, is Zeke a Ring of Honor guy is another question out there as well. And I think so, but I don't know. It's sort of weird to know exactly what that's going to take. Having Brandon Cooks on the team, here's Dak Prescott.
It's exciting. I'll say that. It was very exciting to throw with him today, and the guy is different. That is real speed. We're blessed to have him. Hey, it all works out for us.
That is real speed. Yeah. Shots fired at every other wide receiver, but it's different when you look at the film, and I just hope that it comes to fruition in a way. You know, James Washington had great speed too. I think Brandon Cook's a little bit different, though.
Yeah, a little bit different. And I give the Cowboys credit. They drafted a receiver that's kind of like looks like the receivers that are going to be in this draft, where they traded for a receiver that's shorter but proven. You know now what you have in Cooks. There's no guessing with him. You know, if you draft one of these guys that's a little bit shorter, you don't know how they're going to play. At least you know how Cooks will play. So I give them credit. In a really muddied group of receivers, I think they went out and they helped themselves.
In a huge way, and they needed speed in a huge way, and now you're going to have a reinvigorated sort of Brandon Cooks as well, who's probably just been hating life a little bit in Houston over the last couple of years. Now he's got himself a legit quarterback, a legit team. This is going to be sweet, man. That was a home run trade for them.